Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go back 1 minute. Let's start again. Krishma is a fascinating. It's all the important klolim of the Ramchal are put into Krishma. They're put into Krishma. So last week I already started to talk about, and I'm just going to go over it a few minutes for Jeff. What is Krishma? The Rambam in Sefer Mitzvahs, when he brings down Krishma, he says that Krishma is Chelek Dalet Perek Revi. Chelek Dalet Perek Revi. What is Krishma? Krishma is Yichud Hashem. Yichud Hashem. You got it? It's Yichud Hashem. So last week we spoke about there's really two different aspects of Yichud Hashem. First of all, there's Yichud, which is what the Rambam talks about, that you're made on Achdusa Yisborach, the oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does that mean? That means that basically in our world, the way we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is manning the world, he's manning it with a number of different koiches. There's a number of different powers in the world through which HaKadosh Baruch Hu manifests himself into this world. That's what's called the Shem of Elohim. The Shem of Elohim, which is in Loshen Rabim, represents the koiches of HaKadosh Baruch Hu through which he represents himself in this world. The powers through which he runs the world. That's why Teva and Elohim are the same gematria. Teva and Elohim are the same gematria. By the way, fascinating is, we're already talking about it. Somebody showed me Menachem Mendel Mishkaloif. He's a Talmud Muvik of the Goyen. He wrote a sefer on gematrois, on gematria. And he said that the meaning of words can change according to context. Correct? You can have same words in different contexts which mean different things. He says that the number, that is the etzem hadover. The number never changes. And therefore, always the gematria denotes the atzmus of the dover. It's a higher level than the words themselves. Which we always think the gematria is a nice play on the word. Bichlal not. The gematria, he says, is a siman for the atzmos of the dover. It's like the unchanging essence. Is that good English? I'm learning because of your English. The unchanging essence of it is the gematria. So Elohim and Teva is the same gematria. Because Elohim, am I right? Count it up. It should be the same thing. 70 is 81, and Elohim is.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Not with the coffee.
Not with the coffee. Yes, that's right. Not with the coffee. Yeah. Why? Because so that denotes the, let's call it the way in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu displays himself in our world in a number of different ways. Now that is never the atzmos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because the atzmos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is achdus. It's the oneness. It's the oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Anything which is not oneness is really something else. Ad kedei kach, let's say, that the philosophers thought anything which is changeable, anything which changes, cannot have within it elokus at all. That's why, let's say, Aristotle and the philosophers believed that if there is any sort of hashkocha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our world, it's only hashkocha on the unchangeable parts of the world, like the planets, which the way they understood the world of those days, they saw the planets as being an unchangeable circle, something which never changes. Therefore, since they are unchangeable, there is a hashkocha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kilu HaKadosh Baruch Hu can relate to that which is unchangeable. But wherever this change, which is, let's say, in our world, change, they understood, contradicts HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We know there's another anhoga. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu was metzamtzem himself and created the ability to run our world with the Shem of Elohim. So when we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokim, Hashem Echad, Yud Kei Vov Kei, Elokim is Elokim, and then Yud Kei Vov Kei. So Chaim Volozhin explains, we spoke about this last week, that these shemas donate the different aspects that we have of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yud Kei Vov Kei is the Shema Etzem. It's that Kadosh Baruch Hu Ki'ilu before he was matzamtzem himself to come into the world. The oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Ein Oid Milvadoi, the Efes Zulosoi, that which is nothing else can exist besides him. That's Yud Kei Vov Kei. That's that Kadosh Baruch Hu before the Brias Olam. And then the Shem of Elohim is what? That's the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs this world. And the Shema Yisrael, which we're doing, is a declaration that it's all one. We know that even though it looks to us as if Elohim and Yud Kei Vov Kei are two things which cannot be in any way brought together in some sort, they look to us like a paradox of existence. That you can't have Achdusa Yisborach and at the same time have Elohim, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is mandik the Olam in Pirut. Nevertheless, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. We know it's all one. We know it's all one. And that's Reb Chaim Volozhin we spoke about last week. And it's actually some sort of mirage. That means HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us lenses through which it looks like we exist. In order that we, and even though it's all a mirage, within that mirage is like a bubble of existence. Within there, there's Charon. That's Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That's called the Yichud. So I told them that in the Sfadi Sidurim, you'll find that every time there's Yud Kei Vov Kei, there's underneath the last Hey, there's Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Because Yud Kei Vov Kei and Adnei is also that same two things. It's Yud Kei Vov Kei, which donates HaKadosh Baruch Hu, represents HaKadosh Baruch Hu of Achdutza Yisborach. That's why it's called the Shema Etzem. And Adnei is that which is a master on us, which is Mityaches to us. That means both Elohim and Adnei, both are Shemos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which are the way he manifests himself to us. That means Elohim is Baal HaKochos Kulam, the way the Torah brings. Elohim represents the powers with which he runs the world. Adnei is the Shem of master. A master is a master on a slave. A master is a kesher, some sort of connection between the Odin and the Eved. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is calling himself Adnei, he's calling himself the master of the Avodim. So it's already with a connection to mankind. So again, Yud Kei Vov Kei is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ki'ilu, Atzmuso Yisborach. Adnei is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which relates to the Avodim. So every time in this Sfadi Sidurim where there's Yud Kei Vov Kei and Adnei, that means there's a kavana always is to be metzaref the two things together, to bring them together. By the Chassidim, it's an enormous inyan. You see it by Chassidim also. L'shem Yuchud Kudsha Brichi. So when you say it's Shem Yuchud, what is it? La'achid, what? The Yachid Shem Yud Kei Vov Kei Im Shem Havai, whatever you don't remember. So that means the Sfadim and the Sfadim, the Chassidim, was a massive issue, Yichud. But even by the Litvaks, when it comes to Shema Yisrael, that's the tefillah of Yichud. So now, that's the Ramchal's going to discuss all the changeable ways, all the different facets of the Hanhoga of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our world, because all these are kolul in Shema Yisrael, to be ma'achid them together. That's what we discussed last week. This week, I'm still not going to start the Ramchal. I want to give you one other Hagdama. One more Hagdama. So it's a little quote from the Maramshik. I'm just going to read you a little quote. The Maramshik writes it on, he's got a Sefer Mitzvahs of the Rambam. Okay? He says this. Hine bekrishma onu tzrichim lahamin ba'achdus habayr. Understand? That's what we discuss now. That means there's an Yichud of all the different facets of the Hanoga of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we ma'achad them together. But listen to this. V'gam onu tzrichim liyached ma'aseinu l'shem yizborech v'lasis ma'aseinu rak lishmoy. Ein Yichud ha'maisa ze yikri kabbalas oil malchus shamayim. That means the lotion of the Gemara we find everywhere, that there's kabbalas oil malchus shamayim. But within it, there's two different things. There's the achdus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and there's also the achdus of us. That means, I, it's called in the Lashon, the Ramchal says it's an edus on the achdus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on the oneness, even though there's all the different facets of his Hanoga, and all the different things we see in the world, they're all one. But there's another Yichud. I'm ma'achid myself with him. That means literally what I'm doing is I'm joining the whole of not just mankind, all the nivroim, whether they are the brios, whether they are the hanhogos, anything which in any way donates change, may it be in me or may it be in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I know they're all one. That means I have to be ma'achid everything. That all of me and all of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and all of the Nivroim are all one. That means all inclusive in Yichud Hashem is not only to be ma'achid his hanogos, which is what we spoke about last week, it's also to be ma'achid all of me, even though I look like something which is full of change, full of different matzovim. Nevertheless, it's all one, it's all him. I literally am mevatel myself to him, and I ma'ached all of us into one. So the Yichud has to be in the complete totality of existence, not only in all the facets of his Hanoga, not only in all the Nivroim, but in all of me. All of me means all my different matzovim. Where does it come to the most fascinating difference in this idea? This is something which, when you come to learn in the base of Medrash, Evelyn, Mitz Hashem, it'll be something fantastic. Krishma is Yom V'Laylo. There's Shachris, there's Tefillah in the morning, and Tefillah in the evening. Correct? There's lots of mitzvahs of Yom and Laylo. Mitzvahs of Yom and Laylo. Leil Pesach. Eating matzah on the Laylo. That's a Choyva HaLaylo. It's the Choyvas Laylo of Krishma like all the other Choyvas Laylos. Is it the same as all other Choyvas Laylos? So it is interesting. We learn it from the pasuk of B'shoch B'cho Ufkumecho. Beishamai learned that B'shoch B'cho Ufkumecho meant when you're awake, when you're sitting up, and when you're sitting down. That means I have to be Makabel Oyel Malchus Shamayim when I'm awake, when I'm sitting up, and I have to be Makabel Oyel Malchus Shamayim when I'm sitting down. Why? Now you understand why. Because these are the two basic matzovim of man. Man is always changing in two constant, there's a constant change of what? Not day and night. His changes, awake and sleep. Correct? So this is again, Beishama is built on the Yichud. It's the idea of the Yichud. The Yichud is to be ma'ached all the facets of change which we have in the world. Anything which is interchangeable, may it be the different Hanohogets of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's Hashem, Yudke Vovke, and Elohim. May it be all the Nivroim, Oivra, which Ramchal is going to talk about, or may it be my Matzovim, sitting up, lying down. They represent the two main changes in a man's life. That's Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel say no. Shofkov Kumechot doesn't mean sitting up or lying down. It means day and night. Okay, that's the Gemara. So now, what does it mean by day and night? Is it day and night like matzah, or is it a different day and night? So have a look. Before we even start, let's have a look. Have a look in. You have Chelek Daled on page 132. I don't know if you have the same pages. Do you? Same pages. Different maskil v'hine klal hanoga. It's like a page and a half in. והנה כלל הנוגה של האילום הזה מתחלקס לנוגס היום והנוגס הלילה. וכמו שזכרנו בשלישי פרק ראשון. Can you please go back to, if you have this one, it's page 91. It's חלק ג' פרק ראשון. The end of חלק ג' פרק ראשון ואולם, oisvov. You have it, oisvov? ואולם רוסו החוכמה העליונה. Do you have it? שולם, yeah? ואולם רוסו החוכמה העליונה. לחלק הזמן לשני חלקים. He's talking about the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu split up the 24 hours of a man, of a man into two chalakim. Echod lepoel abrius, one for action, echod lemenuchosam. Ainu hayoim v'halaylo. So here we're talking about the yoim and laylo, which represents menucha and pu'ula. Ki hayoim hu zman ma'aser, v'halaylo zman menucha. ושם בטבע בעלי חיים שישנו כדי שתהיה להם מלוכותיהם מנוחה מעמולו. ובאויסי הזמן יחליף מציאוסם כוח. That means sleeping is in order to get כוח. חלוקה והגופונים והנפשים וישובו חדושים למקום לעבודות ובשיינים. That means anything which is created needs sleep to replenish his energy. והנה, now comes the Ramchal. Sleep is not just to replenish energy for Adam. Not just animals. When a man sleeps, yesh koichoisov nochois, v'agoshoisov shketois, v'askolosoi gam kei nocho, rak hadimian levad yifel v'yelech. V'yidama v'yitzayin yonim. It's the time for dreaming. Now, dreams are not just wild imaginations. That's the ability to access beyond the physical realm. That means the Zman Menucha is not just to get your batteries replenished. It's a time to access up on high. Okay? כפי מה שהזדמנו להם, מי שאירס מה שהצטעד לבייס הקיצר, ומה שהגיע לו מעדים וכו' וכו'. ואומנו, חוקה כבירה יזבורך, שמויועית, שהנפש העליונה שזכרנו, תינותק סוס באיסי זמן, וחלוקים ממנו. It will go up, יהיו מיילים ומנתקים מן הגוף, ורק חלק אחד מהנפש will stay down there. Yes? And then you'll have connection with higher things. That means nighttime sleeping is not just a time of rest. It's a time where there's a completely different, you're working in a different level. You're working different. Now come back to what the Ramchal says here. Back to our period. כלל הנוגה של העולם הזה מתחלקת לנוגה היום והנוגה הלילה. וכמו שזכרנו בחלק שלישי פרק ראשון. ובכל בוקר ובכל ערב משחקים הסדורים ומשמורס המלוכים לתפקידם. לפי סדר הנוגה. Night and days are different avodas. It's a different, it might look to you the same reality, just looking darker and brighter, but it's not. There's different malochim, there's different sorim, there's different tafkid for you. Ve'ulam anachnu b'nei Yisrael nischayavnu lohoid lamitas Yichuda Yizbach Bekoil HaBechinos. Now you understand. Night and day of Krishma, Shammai Beis Hillel's Machlokes is not two worlds. Shammai said we have to be ma'ached what? Also the changes within us. And coming and accepting, and coming and saying everything is one. The whole totality of existence is one, and therefore I do it when I'm awake, when I'm sitting up, or when I'm lying down. Those are the two physical changes in man. Said Bisham Bishilo, you don't have to do it through action. Even if it's just night and just day, you'll still be ma'ached the different pchinas of your existence. Because your existence, b'shchiva, b'zman sheno, and b'yom are different. The whole world is a different malachim oilim v'yodim. There's malachim oilim, the malachim of yom and the malachim of layla are different because the tafkid is different. Everything is different. So it's phenomenal to understand now. Day and night of Krishma are bichlal not day night. It's not yom of layla of matzah. It's Yom V'Layla of B'Shach B'Chov Kumecho. That's why if you look in the Psukim, B'Lechtecho B'Derech, B'Shach B'Chov Kumecho, all these different things are what? Different matzovim of mankind. The whole parsha is talking about I have to be Mekabel, Oil Malchus Shemaim, in all my different matzovim. B'Shach B'Chov Kumecho, B'Lechtecho B'Derech. That means, in essence, every matzav needs Kabbalah Oil Malchus Shemayim. Any change, I have to again be Makabel Oil Malchus Shemayim and make a declaration, even though it looks like this change. It's Ulach Dusa Yisbar. And the new must listen to this Chiddush, unbelievable Chiddush. Rashba and the Ramban learn. You learn the Pshat in the Gemara and Aftes. Rashba and the Ramban. The Gemara says there that Alois HaShacha is touchy. If there's guys who are sleeping in Alois HaShacha, lots of guys sleeping in Alois HaShacha, so it can be considered night. Good evening, Reb Chaim. People sleep, since it's in the night times, Alois HaShacha, there's people asleep. So therefore, even though Alois HaShacha is considered day for everything, but it can be considered night. It can be considered b'shach b'cha. Says the Ramban and the Ran. Says the Ramban. Ramban Asakashi says, I don't understand. Bnei Malochim sit and sleep till Shar Shlishis. They sit and sleep till 11 o'clock in the morning. Bnei Malochim. It's either Bnei Malochim or it's Chevron and Yeshiva Malochim. Okay, but they sit till 11 in the morning. Ask the Ramban. So will they be able to say Krish Mashal Arvis till Shor Shlishis, 10 in the morning? Says the Ramban, they should be able to. You don't be making mistakes, says the Ramban. They don't sleep till 11. They just stay in bed. The Ramban in Muhammad says they don't sleep till 11. But if they would, you could say Krish Mashal Arvis till then. Why? Again, this is the idea. Krishma is not halacha of Yom and Laila. It's not day and night. Like no one would dream to say that you can do a mitzvah of any other mitzvah of the Laila till 11 o'clock in the morning. Night finishes by Tzeisak Yechovim, by Alois HaShacha, or by Netz. It's over. Night's over. But we're not. Krishma's got nothing to do with night and day. Krishma has to do with the different matzovim, the changing of the situations of mankind. That means, again, Krishma is yichud. It's to be ma'ached. Everything is to say, even though the everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu built screams and shouts and declares that there is something else besides the oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because if the oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everything, we cannot exist. There can't be individuals, and there cannot be change. That again, go back to what the philosophers, Aristotle's biggest taina. Where you find change, you find a direct contradiction to godliness. And therefore he said, even though it could be that God created, but after he created the world, he left it. Because change and godliness don't go together. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad is kabod. What's Yichud Hashem? The Lashon of the Rambam, Yichud Hashem, what's it mean? Even though we find change, we see different keiches of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We find hundreds of nivroim. We find evil in the world. Is there anything which screams against godliness more than evil? And evil which succeeds. We find evil which succeeds. You find pure evil which succeeds. All these things scream that God's left this world. They scream that Aristotle was right. They scream that God's left. And even if there is God, it's only in some form. But it's not pure. It can't be. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad is everything. Even though it looks as a paradox to Achdus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it is all one. And it's not something we can understand. It's beyond the realms of imagination. I think that the Balatani writes in some place, he says, don't try to understand, you'll never understand it. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu's given us something. This is sometimes, Litvaks don't have the Balatani, and they have a really sorry life. Balatani says, you know what? There's something which HaKadosh Baruch Hu imbued in us. You might never logically understand it and come to any form of intellectual comprehension of the fact that we can have change, we can have teva, we can have hundreds of different koiches, we can have evil, and nevertheless, it's all one. We can't understand it, but there's something inside it, some light, some connection, some chelek elokai mimal. And if we want to believe it, it's like a gut feeling. It's true. It's a feeling. It's not an understanding. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. You'll never come to an intellectual understanding that it's all one. But the gut will say yes, it's one. There'll be a gut feeling. I know it's one. Why? Ich verstehe nicht. Was ist? That achdus, we mechuyev to do it, we're mechuyev to, what am I looking for the word? We're mechuyev to declare this achdus, really, in every single matzav man is. That means anytime man comes to a change, anytime he comes to change, he goes to work, comes back. In essence, really, it should really be in every matzav. We should have to, again, scream and shout, you think that it's changing? You think that I was in one position, I've gone to another position? No. All change is only a mirage of existence. In essence, it's all one. The choiva of Shema Yisrael was a choiva which was put on us Yoim u'balayla, because Yoim and Laila are the two different states of man. Man is found in two different states. One is menucha, and one is pu'ula. The greatest change in man is from the state of menucha to the state of pu'ula. And therefore man, there's a chiyuv on the Adam To be makabel malchus shamayim and to ma'achid him. That means, as I said before, the whole totality of existence we are declaring is one. Is all the changes, whether it's the changes in Kodesh Baruch Hu's Hanoga, whether it's the changes in me. When am I mechuyev to do it? Yom u'balayla. Because Yom is b'shach b'cha and Laila is b'kumecha. That means Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel are arguing in a teeny argument. And Beis Shammai said you should do it when you physically are in those two different states. When you're physically sleeping or physically standing. So Beis Hillel, enough that you're in the time, which this time represents that state. The time of Erev and the time of Boker. And therefore we'll find hundreds of chidush differences between the dinim of Yom and Laila, all other mitzvahs, and Yom and Laila of Krishma. And it's all why? Because Krishma we're looking at to be ma'ached all the changes. Changes in Hanhoga V'Kadosh Baruch Hu. Changes, or it could be, or it's anything which could contradict Achdusa Yisbarach. We are claiming it's all one. Whether it's the different Hanhogas, Oiv or Ra, or whether it's change in me. All change really is a contradiction, a paradox to the Achdus. That is the unbelievable idea behind Krishma. It's beautiful to understand that from the Ramchal, you come to the Gemara, you see the Gemara different. That's Yom V'Layla. That's Yom V'Layla. I'll give you another example. I saw Meiri. Meiri says, Lechatchila, you should say Krishma B'Layla at the beginning of the night. Say something kachovim. Why? So the Rabbeinu Yonah says we're worried maybe you're going to forget it. The Shulchan Aruch, the Mishabura says Zriza Magdimim. That's not what the Meiri says. The Meiri says Lachatchila you should do it at the time of Tzesek. You know why? It's not a mitzvah which is said by night. It's a mitzvah which is said when there's change. Isn't that brilliant? When's the point of change? The point of change is Seisa Kechovi. That's the moment when you leave the reality of day and you come to a new reality of night. That's the point of change. Again, we're looking for what? Anything which contradicts, any change which contradicts the Achdus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then there's a chiyuv to say, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Don't believe your eyes. Don't look at your eyes. It might look like there's a change, but it's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is unchangeable. It's a mirage. That's all it is. Says the Meiri, there's a chiyuv of Krishma Lechatchila B'Shas Yitzakech. Isn't it fantastic? It's fantastic. It's a completely new understanding. Completely new understanding. And that is all lies in one word. Achdus. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The word Echad is to say, not all is one. Very, 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 is a very important idea. Echad is not the one before two. That's not what Echad is. Echad is the only one. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad is not, he's the first. He's everything. Ein oid milvadoi efes ulos. There ain't nothing else. If I'm not mistaken, there's a Rabbeinu Yonah somewhere which says, what's Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad? Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, Elokeinu, and Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. So Reb Chaim Balosha says, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Before he created anything, and Elokeinu is his Hanog in this world. Rabbeinu Yonah, I think the Goyim brings it somewhere, says, Hoya Hoive v'yeh. Like he says in every Yud Kei Vav Kei also. The Yud Kei Vav Kei is also Hoya Hoive v'yeh. Hoya Hoive v'yeh. I mean, there is no change more than that. That means if there wouldn't be time, there wouldn't be change. Time is that which allows change. Time is that which allows it. That means really in all, when Einstein said that time is something which is created and it's relative. His first chiddush was that time is a creation. It's created. It's not something which it exists. It's a nivro. The nivro said who said it? The Goyim. Bereshis bolo Elokim. Says the Goyim Naderes Elio. Bereshis is the beginning. Bolo Elokim. Beginning meaning time. Bereshis bolo Elokim. With the creation of mass of Shemayim and Oretz was created time. Time is a creation, and time really is that reality which contradicts HaKadosh Baruch Hu more than anything else, because it is changeable. That means it's not that man changes. He doesn't change. The truth is, he changes constantly. We just don't see it. But the change which is constant is time. Time is constantly changing. So if I'm looking for that creation which contradicts the Achdus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu more than anything else, what is it? Hoyo Hoive V'yeh. And I say that God is all one. Hoyo Hoive V'yeh is all Echad. So again, it's the same idea. Ben Yain is the same idea. It might not be the two hanhogas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it's all the same idea. It's all that which changes is in essence one. That's what it is. And that's the Yom and the Laila. That's the changes within me. And that's what on that is a Chiyuv Krishma. In Meets Hashem next week, we will start actually the Derech Hashem inside. Now that we've understand what Yichud is, and the next 10 pages, he describes all the different facets of creation which HaKadosh Baruch Hu created in the world. All the different hanhogas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and all the different inyonim of the Nivroim, and it's all for one purpose. All this is one. That means when a person says Shema Yisrael, what does he have to have in mind? He's got to have in mind all the different changes which we find in our world to be coil them into that echod. And the whole of the Derech Hashem, the next 15 pages, is all to describe the changes we find, or the stereos we find in reality, which seem to contradict Achdusa. And the choiva is to be made. All this is echod. A gute Nacht to everybody.
A gute Nacht, a gute Nacht. Shkoyach, shkoyach. Shkoyach.